Hello and welcome to Preparation Avengers, a weekly podcast with up-to-date impressions on every film in the MCU, leading up to Infinity War on April 27th. I'm your moderator, Thomas Rogers. Joining me this week, Danny DKP Kilpatrick.
Good evening, boys.
Paul Pep Burns.
Yo, folks, how's it going?
And Alex Adafai Hernandez.
I'm a man who's been looking at a world through a keyhole.
By that he means another man's asshole.
Ooh,
Got him good.
you are
fellas.
hot and ready for this episode, and I like it.
Just like this movie, you interpret it the way you want.
Let's get these facts out of the way. First off, we're watching motherfucking Doctor Strange. Well, we already watched it, but we're talking about it.
We watched it.
We did watch it. That was a movie that we watched with our eyeballs. Sometimes we listen to it. It was released on November 4th, 2016.
So we're getting real close.
We're getting close.
Now.
We're catching
Yeah.
up. We are catching up. The budget for this movie was $165 million.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap, man.
So the comparison that I put here is
Comparatively.
Ant-Man, which is in a similar vein in terms of it's a new superhero's first outing kind of movie. Ant-Man was $142 million. So it got a $23 million budget increase.
Now there were an incredible amount of visual effects in this.
Absolutely.
So I can. You should give it some. We should give it some.
They
credit.
hired the guy that did Inception, and they were like, "Hey, man, just redo Inception for us."
Was it literally the guy who did Inception?
I have no
Because I was
clue.
going to say it really
It
did
might
look
have
good.
been, honestly, because it's just a lot of these are just industrial light and magic.
Yeah.
Like most huge movies with tons of CGI generally are industrial light and magic. So it probably was the same group. It had a box office return of $677 million, comparing it to Ant-Man's $519 million. So it did pretty good.
It did. And so do you think that's because it followed Civil War? Do you think that Civil War drove up the interest in the Marvel Universe? Because I wouldn't have said Doctor Strange would have been somebody that
I think
would
it's
have drawn
Benedict
people.
Cumberbatch. A lot of people really like him.
Oh, that's
More than
true.
Paul Rudd, though?
More than Paul Rudd, yeah, probably.
I'd say modern people are really into Benedict Cumberbatch. However you pronounce his name.
Benedict
Not gonna work here anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Benedict
Exactly.
Cabbage Patch. This movie was directed by. This is the part when I was like doing the research. I was like, "Wow, this is really interesting." It was directed by Scott Derrickson, which not that interesting. However, the films that he has directed so far are "Deliver Us from Evil."
Oh, man, I thought you were gonna say Deliver Us from Eva.
Now, DKP, you're gonna have to probably tell me what a lot of these movies are because I know you watch a lot of these types of movies. But
here,
"Deliver
let
Us
me-
from Evil," "Sinister,"
Oh, sure. Okay.
"The Exorcism of Emily Rose." And he did that semi-recent "The Day the Earth Stood Still," which was like 2008.
I
maybe.
did not watch that one.
But the other three movies are horror films.
The only one that I can verify that is pretty good out of those is Sinister. Wait, hold on. Somebody correct me. Sinister's the one with the guy that looks like he's from Slipknot named like Ooga Booga.
Dude, I've only seen the box art, but yes, the box art looks like a dude from Slipknot.
Well, it's not bad. It has the like essential flaw of two things. It being like the demon's name is Bagula or some goofy shit, and then at the very end, it's like he zooms towards the camera real fast and goes, "Bleh!" And it's like, you hack ass piece of shit. You don't think I saw that
Jump
shit
scare
coming?
shit coming.
Yeah.
But like the rest of the movie, just like the people who do the Conjuring films, it could be the same person, as far as I know, because tonally, they feel like they're systematic at this.
Horror movies that were created
feel
from
like-
like 2006.
They
to
feel like
2015
mass
are all
produced
the
at this
same
point.
thing.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
follow a lot of the same beats tonally,
Yeah.
but they're not bad. It's not garbage. I've seen some garbage ones in the last 10 years.
But what
You
it
know,
makes me think, yes,
Speaking of horror, I eventually want Marvel to do a horror movie. If they do, there are some great directors out there for that.
I think that's one of the things that's kind of interesting is I think that their goal with this was to kind of have a horror vibe to
So
it.
that's what I was wanting
Which
to
it
say
did not
is,
succeed
is
in,
they
but
did not make a horror movie at all. And if
Yeah.
their goal was to make a horror movie, they
Let's go over the
failed.
writers real quick
Yeah.
because this will help with this discussion. It was written by three different people: John Spates, Scott Derrickson, who is the director, and C. Robert Cargill. John Spates wrote Prometheus, Passengers, which is that recent movie that has
Oh yeah,
Chris- what's his
Pratt
name?
And,
Chris Pratt
So
and
some
Lawrence.
mediocre sci-fi film.
and the Mummy
Hunger Games
reboot.
lady.
What is it?
And he wrote the Mummy reboot, the newer one with Tom Cruise.
Oh my God.
Holy shit.
Scott Derrickson wrote all the other stuff that I mentioned. Minus
He wrote the
baby
Hunger
episode
Games 2
still.
out of 5?
I don't know. I'm talking about Jennifer Lawrence.
Oh, okay.
And then C. Robert Cargill, he helped with Sinister. So these are guys, they tasked people who write and direct horror movies to do Doctor Strange.
That's really fucking
It's strange.
strange.
It's Doctor
Weird.
Strange.
I got this real Doctor Strange.
This is
fellas,
real
don't you
Doctor
think?
Strange.
Now, don't get me wrong. There are some really psychedelic components to this movie, which is
Yeah.
actually my favorite part of the movie.
Yeah,
But
without question, him holding onto his own eyeball iris. That's the scariest part of the
yeah,
film.
it was pretty freaky.
Is that actually in the movie? Or are
Yeah,
you making a
he
joke?
falls into his own eye and he grabs hold of his own iris and he falls
And
into
it's like him
his pupil.
scraping it, and I was like, it made me cringe a little bit, like, ugh.
The part that got me was all the
rewatch
little
this movie.
hands.
But we'll get
Oh,
to
yeah.
that.
I know the hand
But-
scene. I remember that one.
You know what? That's probably like the specific parts they brought them in for was like that one scene. Like you're gonna write just the psychedelic bit.
But
I don't know if
short
it
of
explains
that,
a lot or if it explains nothing. Now that we know who the directors and writers are.
But short of that, my
I'm just
complaint
more
about this
confused,
movie is
actually.
actually that it's just another Marvel movie, right? You got these little psychedelic bits in the middle, but for the most part, it's just another Marvel movie using the exact same flow and beats and everything. But anyways, go on, please.
No, you're good.
We'll get to talking about that shit. So, do we have the cast, Major Tom?
I do, yeah, but for some reason I can hear me and you. What is?
All right, I'll go and.
No, I got
You
it.
wanna figure it out? Okay.
Synopsis.
I can hear it again. All right. So the cast. This is the shortest cast list we've had so far.
Get to the cast first. Babe.
Benedict Cumberbatch plays Dr. Stephen Strange. Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Oh, I love that guy.
Is he Wong?
Chiwetel plays Chiet. All right. Chiwetel.
You want me to give it a shot?
Ejiofor
Here, let me read that shit.
Nope.
Let me just look at
plays Mordor. I mean Mordo.
Oh, Mordo. He was the guy from
Yep,
the
never mind.
Firefly,
I don't wanna try.
and he's been in a bunch of
Yeah.
movies that I liked.
Rachel
please don't let
McAdams.
DKP read it because he'll say nothing but Billy Crystals.
it. Yeah, who the fuck is Renee Zellweger?
Rachel McAdams plays Christine Palmer. Benedict Wong
You're shitting me.
plays a character named Wong.
Wong plays a man named Wong.
Are you kidding?
That's rad as hell, man.
Is that really his name?
That is really his name.
Okay, I just want to call out. His name came up. He is my favorite part of this movie. Wong is I loved Wong.
You saying Wong is top tier?
We get
He's-
some.
he is my
we get
my
some-
guy.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
Some Beyonce jokes from Wong.
We get some Beyonce jokes.
Well, I
we get
guess
him being all serious. We get a moment where he laughs at the funniest thing in the whole damn movie, and nobody else laughs. It was
Yeah.
hilarious.
Mads Mikkelsen plays Caecilius.
Ooh, I love Mads
Yeah.
Mikkelsen.
I do too, man.
I'll say. That's all I gotta say for the immediate.
All right. I'd find it. You sound like you were about to say something. Do you have some thoughts on Mads?
Same with DKP.
He's great, isn't he?
That is
man?
a
You're a
lovely
fan. You'll
actor.
save it. Cool.
In general.
Tilda
I love
Swinton.
him.
Tilda Swinton plays the ancient one.
All right. So
Let's get it out of the way. Let's talk about Tilda
okay.
Swinton.
I'm
playing
a
the
Tilda Swinton guy. I loved Orlando. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. She did this movie recently whose name escapes me, where she was a vampire.
She did that awesome movie about that little Asian girl who has a pig that looks like a hippo.
She did.
What was that movie called again?
If you wanted
Cha.
Okja,
Okja. She was great in Okja.
If you want to hear a review of that, you could probably find it on YouTube
No,
somewhere.
you can't.
Nope. We
It's
never put
gone
those
forever.
on. Yeah,
Oh,
it's
that's
gone
a
forever.
bummer.
We
Well-
did review Okja though. Good movie.
But my point is that I am predisposed to liking Tilda Swinton, and I hated her in this movie.
So I'm going to go ahead and get it out there. Did you dislike her
despised
because,
her.
or did you have anything to do with the idea that it's a white lady playing a historically based on the comic books Asian character?
I am a huge fan of the comic book, so that it wouldn't be unusual for me to have that opinion, but that is not the case.
I'm a huge fan of white ladies, but
I am a huge fan of white
Come on.
ladies. Shout out to Peb's mom. But I'm a huge fan of white ladies. But man, she did not do well in this position. And I don't even think it was the writing. Her writing was great.
did she have flat deliveries or what? What was it?
I just did not believe in her as this ancient being. I just saw Tilda Swinton the whole time, which is bizarre.
But she
because
was bald though. That wasn't enough to be like, this
wasn't
isn't
enough.
Tilda
No,
Swinton.
every time she was on
Hashtag
screen,
not
it
my
just
Tilda.
broke me out. Like that whole fighting scene with her in the beginning, that should have been my favorite part of the movie. But instead, I was just going, who the fuck is this and what's she doing? I don't care about this
I
person.
want to give the Red Letter Media guys credit real quick. I watched their Half in the Bag on it, and they were like, man, it would have been really cool if that scene wouldn't have been in the beginning of the movie. That the first time we saw all that like weird transformative building changing stuff, the first time we saw that would have been the scene with it had
That
Benedict
would have made the
Cumberbatch.
tease scene so much more effective. You know that she's
But since
bringing
we
in the
already kind of
tease.
saw
like,
we
all
know.
of that, it took away from it.
It's
I was
so
like, oh,
true.
You're
that's
seeing it
that's a very
as
good point.
as Stephen Strange sees it.
Exactly.
Like it's
Yeah.
revealed to him at the same time. Sure.
So I don't know why I hated her as much as I did, but I despised her in this particular role.
Michael Stolbarg plays Dr. Nicodemus West. Now, Michael Stolbarg is my favorite actor that I can't ever remember his name. He's in Boardwalk Empire, which we've talked about on a previous episode, where he plays this insanely badass character. He's in the third season of Fargo, where he plays this insanely like weird guy. Everything he's in, he plays a completely different character, and he does incredibly good at all of them. And he's one of those guys that when you see his face, you're like, I've seen that guy, but I just don't know what I've seen him from. He's in a ton of stuff, and he's incredibly good in everything he's in, but he's like, I never remember his name.
Well, what's his name? Read it to me again.
Exactly. His name is Michael Stolbarg.
Yeah, I wouldn't remember that shit.
Michael Stolbarg.
So that character's part reminded me a great deal of Dark World. His part was basically the part where Foster was rejecting the guy she was going on the date with, and then calls him up from another world and talks to him.
Yeah.
He's that guy's role was the main character is going to make fun of you, and then he's going to have to depend on you later in the movie.
Yeah.
That's your job.
I don't know.
that
At
was
the
what he
beginning, it was weird. It was like the movie didn't know what to do with that character because it set it up almost like later down the road he was going to snitch on Stephen Strange.
I was
or
waiting for him to
fuck his shit
become a
up.
villain.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, because at the beginning it's like, yeah, he's trying to harvest this man's organs. Like it's like it almost alluded to like he knows that the guy's he didn't want to be like, oh, we can save him, great. You know, you're not gonna do a fucking brain transplant. So
He just didn't like. He just didn't want to be showed up by
by Stephen
Doctor
Strange.
Strange.
But then later he's like, it's okay, Michael, you take this over, and he's like, oh. I don't know. It's like the movie couldn't quite decide what they wanted to do with him, so they didn't do anything with him. And they were
Yeah.
like, hey, he's
Yeah.
going to be there later, and he's going to not get his comeuppance, and it's going to be cool.
It's all going to work out. It's
But-
all good.
I challenge all of you, be on the lookout for him in future movies that you watch and
Sure.
TV shows that you watch, and recognize how good of an actor he is and how underutilized he is in Doctor Strange.
I don't think any of my faults with that character have to do with the actor.
For sure.
No,
I have
not
a
at
lot
all.
of issues with the character as well. Benjamin Bratt plays Jonathan Panghorn. Jonathan Panghorn. That's what I'm saying, dude. The cast list for this movie is so short. Jonathan Panghorn is the guy that Stephen Strange heard about from the.
Oh, he's
the
the
physical
guy who was playing basketball.
Yeah, he's the guy who's playing
Let's
basketball.
not skip ahead to the post-credits scene,
But he is in the post-credit scene. Yeah. He's the guy who basically gave. He's the person that without him, his story existing, then Stephen Strange would not have figured out
I
how
feel
he
like-
could get healed.
I feel
This
like I've
movie
seen
doesn't
that.
believe in stereotypes.
That's right. I feel like that guy. I've seen him in like Law and Order episodes or something. He was familiar to me, and I liked
Yeah.
him.
By the way, you meant to bring up the half in the bag thing, but I think you got distracted. About Tilda Swinton's casting, right?
No, bro.
We started at
No,
it when
the-
we got away from it.
Oh, okay.
The half in the back thing I brought up was that they said that the opening
Oh,
scene
sure.
should not have been the opening scene.
Okay.
That we shouldn't have seen the crazy world until we saw.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I just wanted to mention them because that was a very. I agree with what they said, and I don't want to take credit for it. And then Dormammu. I didn't realize this. This was initially in an Easter egg, and I was like, nah, I'll put this in the casting. Dormammu was played by Benedict Cumberbatch.
No shit.
Yeah. He does the voice and the facial
Oh,
whatever is
that
all
actually
him.
makes him. You know, he has all that smog experience
Yeah.
under his belt, so it actually makes Dormammu more interesting to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I fucking hated the look of Dormammu in this film. I much
Go on.
prefer like the flaming skull, sort of not like Ghost Rider.
You're a Marvel vs. Capcom 3 guy, and Dormammu is a
Well, I mean,
character
it's not
in
the
that,
only
right?
place in which like that's his
But
representation.
that's how you know him.
Yeah, he looks way cooler than just a floating face that looks almost like Thanos because all the grooves and shit in it.
Well, I was just trying to think,
Being
like, I didn't know
what
that you
is
read
this?
Doctor Strange comics. Like, how would you know him? And then I was like, oh, wait.
I
he
have
was in
read
Marvel
some
vs.
Doctor
Capcom
Strange
3.
like one-shot graphic novels and shit. So
Gotcha.
So Doctor Strange, if we're talking about this, Doctor Strange was super important to me as a kid.
Doctor Strange is a fucking really cool ass, like,
He had a
part
bunch
of
of
the Marvel
crossovers.
universe.
So I was a big Spider-Man kid.
Yeah.
And he had all these crossovers with Spider-Man, and he actually got me into like when, okay, this is gonna sound dumb, but like when I was like, just getting out of high school, and my friends were all like, "Hey, let's go to this camp out where we talk about magical stuff." I was like, "Fuck yeah! I read all that Doctor Strange. I am prepared.
Peb's gonna be fucking Sorcerer
Let's
Supreme.
go! I'm gonna be Sorcerer Supreme." So Doctor Strange is actually kind of important to me.
Cool.
You know what they call Sorcerer Supreme in France? Royale Supreme. Or Sorcerer Royale. Whatever.
Nailed it. Nailed that shit. DKP, what is the plot for Doctor Strange?
All right, so this plot is about an insufferable hunk of garbage.
He really is, though, dude.
Who,
He treats Christine Palmer like shit.
I mean, he just really is just a genuine piece of shit. It's basically about Hitler, who's a good surgeon. Just about an unlikable fucking asshole. And he's on his way to, I guess, Auschwitz? It's whatever's bad, wherever he's going. And he's like, permit that my hands don't fuck up, I should be good to go. But then, like, he gets in a car accident because he's texting while driving. What another piece of shit way to do. While passing somebody on a fucking, like, cliff road. Like where Matthew Broderick murdered that woman. You know? What a hunk of garbage
Gotcha.
this man is.
Took me a second to grab that one. I got it, though.
So anyways, he fucks up his hands. Apparently he's a doctor or some shit. Dr. Mangala, basically.
Apparently, Doctor Strange is a doctor.
Well, I mean,
He does remind
coming
us
from the,
several times in the
coming
movie.
from the Doctor Who fan, like, we're doctor doesn't even mean doctor. What the fuck is that shit? Let's move on. Don't even answer.
Dude.
Don't even answer.
Dude, you just had so many awesome flashes in my mind of why he's called a doctor, and I just wanted to start explaining.
I was
it
like,
to you.
don't even.
Yes.
So anyways, he's like, my hands, instead of teaching or lecturing or supervising or anything else that I could do
Or just
with my
research.
extreme expertise, I'm somehow going to go broke in like 2 years. And then he finds out, and like there's this physical thing. So he goes to physical therapy because his hands get fucked up. I can't do surgery anymore. I can't extract bullets out of brain matter myself. So then he's he utters the most hateable line, the most pretentious piece of shit line in the movie. Well, this poor physical therapist is trying to help him get his hands back in order, and he's like, all right, bachelor degree? The fuck do you know? By the way,
I did think that was
that is the most abysmal...
if they were going to make someone more hateable, that line
he could have been
perfect.
torturing animals
Dude,
to cope,
the line
and
that
I'd
got
still
me-
thought that line was worse.
The line that got me was when Christine Palmer came to visit him, and she's like, there are more things that you can live for. And he's like, what, you?
Like you? Oh my god! It was like,
And he said it in
walk
such a
out,
condescending, like,
Christine.
"Ew."
Just leave.
This
Good
dude's
thing-
a giant piece of shit.
She did. But, alright, so then the guy's like, nah, he went over and studied Buddha. This guy that I know who, I don't know, broke his back or some shit. And he's like, that's impossible, you fucking idiot. And he's like, try me, motherfucker. It's basically tonally like how
And then
that
he tries him,
conversation went. And he
motherfucker.
did. And he's
He
like,
did. He was like,
oh
oh,
my
shit.
God. So he finds the guy who apparently, like, can magically walk again. I mean, that was actually just kind of a happy accident that I described it that way, but, magically just can walk when he shouldn't be able to. And he's
It's
like,
true.
go find Buddha. So then he goes and finds Buddha.
It
and
turns out it's
then
Tilda Swinton.
They're like, hey, look, you're a piece of shit, but you're Sorcerer Supreme now. And there's this other guy who wanted to be Sorcerer Supreme. There's this other guy who wanted to be Sorcerer Royale. And he stole the telephone to speak to this guy that lives out in space, who's a real piece of shit, and I don't know, just wants stuff.
Dude, what movie did you watch?
This all ties back in. Hold on.
Okay.
And he's like, you've got to go find him. And he's like, well, that's not exactly how it goes. But he's like, let me fix my hands. I don't know, some goofy shit happens, and then Michael Fassbender shows up. Mads Mikkelsen shows up with eyeliner on. Then they fight, and they're like, Ancient One, you are a piece of shit. And she's like, you don't understand. No one does. And the good guy, B's bad.
I appreciate that they made us all understand, though. Oh, wait, no, they didn't.
Yep, the good guy's bad, and then he's Sorcerer Supreme, and he hangs out with Dormammu, like the bad space guy, for about like eons or however many years, and then that's basically it. Mads Mikkelsen fucks off like to outer space after that. He just floats away, and then
The end.
that's he's like we Sorcerer Supreme now.
All right, let's review this movie. Thanks, DKP.
You're welcome.
DKP. So I just want to call out, you were solid right up there till the middle. And
Dude,
then,
that's how the movie is too, though.
Yeah,
kind of is.
like it's very straightforward in the first part, and then it's like you kind of don't know, like, well, what the fuck is he doing here? Like,
Yeah.
because it seems like he's like, initially he came to fix his hands, but then you think, well, surely after he learns that he can teleport to Mount Everest and back, his hands isn't like he doesn't want to go back to doing fucking surgery, right? He wants to learn the mystical arts, and I don't know, maybe who knows what. But then,
Eat an apple back and forth. through time.
yes,
But
eat
I
an
do
apple back
think-
and forth forever.
But I do think that, so one of the interesting questions about it is, do you want to, if you find out that there's this great battle going on for the soul of the universe and you must
Yes.
fight to protect the earth,
Anything's
then there's
better
a
than
question
what my
of
daily
whether or not-
life is right now. Yes.
Well, then there's a question of whether or not you want to go back and start playing basketball with all your friends,
Oh,
like his buddy did, or if you want to step up and become
No.
Sorcerer
See,
Supreme.
I think this is an instance where I think that I think I read that a little bit differently. So when he talks to the guy about like, well, why'd you come back? And he's like, well, they wanted me. I didn't have the strength for it, right? And he's talking about the guy that initially tells him like, hey, look,
Yeah.
if you want to fix yourself, here's how I did it. Can't help you further than that.
Panghorn.
But I thought it was like they didn't see the potential in him that they saw in Stephen Strange. So that's why they didn't ask him to stay and fight. Not that they were like, "Hey," he's like, "I don't want anything to do with this." That's what I read that as.
They had a discussion about it later on. It's sort of a moot point to the overall plot of the movie, but I do think that there was a point where he could have participated in the battle between the two forces, and he chose not to.
Idify, you have anything you want to add?
No, go ahead.
What did you read on that? Like, do you
Honestly,
think?
Like, if the story was kind of, there was a part. I'm like really lost for words, but there was a part that really bothered me was, and I don't mean if I'm going off track here, but there was a part
that's
of
what
the
the review
story
segment is,
where
baby.
he's very learning still, and that whole Everest scene, and kind of where he goes to the Sanctum, New York. He's a very novice, but after the whole death scene, he comes back and he's almost
Yeah, I
like
want to.
at full potential. And
That's what
just
I
like,
want to talk about.
What? Like, where did he learn all this magic all of a sudden?
He transitions from someone in training to the Sorcerer Supreme so quickly.
Well, no, he's not.
Yeah.
Let's just be frank. He's not Sorcerer Supreme.
I know, but the
to basically
protector
being
of
the
that
equivalent
particular
skill
sanctum,
wise of sure
the New York Sanctum.
So I have sort of mixed feelings about this, and here's the two things. Here's one thing the movie did incredibly well. One of the things the movie did incredibly well is they brought in the relics and the aspects of Doctor Strange. There's some very important aspects to Doctor Strange. One, there are two characters that go with Doctor Strange that you wouldn't think are characters.
Is this like from the comics?
From the comics. So one of the characters in it is the New York Sanctum. That's a character, right? It's a building, but it has its own belief.
Do you mean that metaphorically, or do you mean that like literally?
No, it's like a literal character. So it has opinions about who
speaks?
should come in and out. It has opinions about it behaves. Another character in
So
it.
kind of like when the guy was explaining relics and he said like, you don't choose them, like they will come to you.
Exactly.
Okay.
And one of them that chooses him is the literal sanctum. The building in New York is an actual character in the comic books. And I thought they did a good job of that, right? He shows up in this fucking building. It's very confusing. It's disorienting. There's this fight going on. And he steps up and says, hey, you stop, executing that guy, which is, I think, a reasonable thing to say. And I think that the building itself was interesting and dynamic and pulled you in, right? You were interested in who he was and how he related to that space and how he defended it. The other one is his cloak. The cloak is its own character, and it's its own piece within the comic book. And I thought that this movie did a really great job. Now, that being
the cloak stuff
said,
was cool.
And I liked him meeting both of those characters, just him and those environments, right? They did a terrible job of getting us from the novice to the person who was able to defend. It became harder and harder to believe that Doctor Strange would be able to stand up to the challenges that he was presented with after that point. The point where the guy dies, the guy gets executed, right? That's the point where Doctor Strange has to step up and basically take over his spot.
Yep.
And they just did a really piss poor job. And so I feel conflicted, right? Because I want to support him getting to get all of these things like the Eye of Agamemnon and the cloak and all of that other
Sorry, what?
stuff. The
I am
amulet.
Agamotto.
Agamotto, right. So, I'm gonna have to figure out who Agamemnon
Not that
is.
Agamemnon.
I think it's a Greek,
the eye of
a Greek hero. Anyways,
not going to work here anymore.
so I'm in full support of that, but I really do wish that they'd spent a little more time getting us to the point where we could believe him
See,
as
If I could add to
competent.
Ped's thing, on
Yeah.
top of that, there's a lot of timeline issues with this movie overall in terms of the MCU. Like, some part of me thinks it's before the second Avengers, or before or after the second Avengers,
Hold on,
then
Peb looks like he
on
might know
to Civil
something.
War?
I got something for you. When
Oh,
he's
please.
in the car
Yeah.
driving,
Yep.
the piece that the first person he rejects is somebody who
Was
was
a
in
colonel who was
armor.
35 years old. I actually have it written down for the secrets segment. Let me pull it out real quick.
But I like that because it placed it in the MCU timeline.
But not only that, there are even scenes where they're shooting at landscape and they show the Avengers Tower. But then later on in
Yeah.
the movie, they do that same landscape and you don't see the Avengers Tower anymore.
That actually bugged me too.
I don't know if
yeah.
that's a timeline issue as more as it is a post
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we know
special
it's-
effects issue.
Because we.
Maybe, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, he's referred to as a 35-year-old Air Force colonel who crushed his spine.
Right. And so we can
Wait
we know,
a minute.
Yeah.
Terrence Howard?
No.
Yes, Terrence Howard.
No, it wasn't Terrence Howard.
Yeah, James Rhodey Rhodes.
Oh, no, it
Who's
wasn't.
the 35-year-old who crushes their spine then?
That's the Hammer Industries guy we saw the picture of in
Justin Hammer.
Iron Man
Are you sure?
2. That's what I assumed because they said he was
so-
in armor and then he broke his back.
Because I assumed, especially since it was right after Civil War,
that it was Rhodey.
because
I
he was also a
totally
35-year-old colonel
Yeah,
who
yeah,
crushed
yeah.
his spine.
Yeah, no, I
can't
give
be
you.
100% sure on this, but I do remember at some point, I think this was, they were talking to the director on one of the little filming things, and I like I said, this might need to be double checked, but I'm more than positive he said it wasn't during Civil War.
Yeah,
Can you find out for us real quick? There's a scene in Doctor Strange. Sorry, I'm talking to Taylor, everybody out in the audience, where he is talking about a 35-year-old colonel who crushes their spine. Can you Google and find out?
There's a
who
reference to
That's
armor.
that's the hard part because it's like I wouldn't imagine Rhodey is 35 years old.
So here's
you
my
don't get to be like Commander General or whatever. What, 6 years before then at the age of 30?
He's a colonel, though, right?
He's a
I don't think
colonel.
you can. How many people reach Colonel at that age?
But at the same time, here's my problem with it is that all of that happened, and then he spends years learning his, going through his studies and stuff.
Does he though? Because that's what I find to be one of my problems. Is it's like
We're just calling out exactly what Adify said, which is that the timeline.
The
is
timeline
confusing.
is just bewildering.
well because it just does. It gives you no reference for like how long he's fucking been studying.
Yeah.
Now
I think
that's
that's one of the problems, though.
Yeah, no, that's not the only problem. Like, my biggest problem with this, and I didn't even consider this till we just started fucking talking about it, but, okay, so the movie does the most supreme job, the most royale job at the beginning, painting him as the biggest hunk of shit on the planet, right? Like, he's charming, he's funny.
Is he charming?
I think he's pretty charming.
I think a charming piece of shit is more in the land of, like, Iron Man.
Yeah, he doesn't. He
No,
doesn't
no,
get
no,
to
no,
Iron
no,
Man.
no.
There's no charm to that.
Even,
Sorry.
even when he's saving that dude's life, he's being an asshole
Sir,
about
he's
it.
charming and shit, but, like, I'm talking about a different level of piece of shit than Tony Stark, personally. Like, Tony
Apparently,
Stark,
he
like, the
can be
worst thing he did was sell
Hitler.
weapons. Yeah, like, this guy's as unlikable as Adolf Hitler. He's fucking terrible.
Who are you talking about as charming?
Like, he's charismatic, I'll put it that way, all right? At the very beginning. He's got jokes, people are, whatever.
Anyway,
you don't think he's charismatic? Fine. Doesn't take away, just move on. So, but look, so he goes to Cambodia, or wherever the fuck it is, to fix his hands, right?
Mhm.
And that's his motivation up until nearly the fucking end of the movie. Now, I really think that there should have been a scene in there where it's like, hey, look, he has this revelation of like, it's this shit's bigger than me, and it humbles him. We don't really get that.
I agree
I think we do,
100%.
though.
Oh, do we?
I think we do, though. I think that's the scene where he comes back after his death. Well, his death and revival. He comes back. That guy's dead, and then he starts arguing with them about. This
But listen. Here's the thing, though. Like, it would have made sense, like, because the Ancient One, or Tilda Swinton, told him, like, look, you were born for this, right? But it wasn't because of his arrogance that allowed him to do that. The montage of him, like, gearing up and learning how to do this shit once he kind of gets the hang of it, right? Basically, it's like, yeah, it wasn't that he had a personal inner revelation that allowed him to open himself to this. It was, he's a really good fucking studier, despite the fact he's still
an asshole,
a complete fucking dickhead who still only cares about his hands, nothing else.
So
that bothered the shit out of me.
Here's the scene I needed and didn't get. I needed the scene where he had to choose between helping people in need and correcting his hands.
Yeah.
I needed the scene where he made that choice, and he said, you know what, I can fix my hands, I can walk out of here and I can become the doctor I wanted to be, or I can step up and do what's right.
There could have been a
never had that
super
choice.
poignant moment where it's like, where his hands, where he like has his hands and they're working again, and he does something that's really hard to do unless you're as skilled as he is, and he achieves that thing. Well, no, he like achieves it, and he's like thinking, and he's just sitting there, and there's a moment of silence, and he's just trying to figure things out, and then he like looks over at a particular book, or he sees a particular character, or he sees something, and then he like stops what he's doing, gets up, and like walks away. It's like, you can do it with minimal dialogue.
I got a bit for you. How about this?
Throw it at me.
How about this one? All right, he fixes his hands. Final battle ensues, or almost up to the final battle. To save Wong, he has to reach in for some reason, magic-wise, which is going to re-fuck up his hands to save someone else. And he has to make that conscious choice of like, well, I did it. And it's really important to me, and I'm sure it's all weird to him, but like, now I'm gonna save this person, be that Wong or whoever, and it's gonna fucking wreck his hands again.
It's gonna put me back where I was, and I accept that as a consequence.
How about that bit?
I like it.
Maybe,
Taylor, did you?
Maybe I saw something different then, because I thought like it wasn't probably well flushed out, but I thought we got that scene where he brings the Ancient One into the operating room, and he's about to, and then he realizes, no, let me give this to the other doctor.
Oh, that comes what I would consider too late, though.
Yeah.
You know, because listen, here's like, I guess the best way I can phrase it, which is like, when it comes to the way that magic is portrayed in most places, right? It doesn't favor arrogance. It doesn't favor, well, if you just work really hard at learning. That's Harry Potter works that way, where it's like, if you're really good about your studies and you practice your wand flicks, right? Like, that's different. But like mysticism, it favors people who are like centered, or like even Star Wars, it's like the Force comes to people who are aligned one way or the other, mostly, rather than just like normal people, right? Someone's gonna get pissed off that I said that. But
yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. But to be fair, not a huge Star Wars fan.
No, but look, like magic comes to those who are worthy, almost like Mjolnir or something like that. Not, if you study real hard, you can just learn mysticism and be Sorcerer Supreme. And like it looked like that's exactly what the fuck he was doing. And that revelation of like him humbling himself to some degree came way after he was already supremely successful at doing everything that people who base their lives and who like who's the guy the guy who ends up being bad? Mordor, whatever, man.
Yeah.
Morgo. Like, that guy who, up until that point, was like very humble and like trying to learn the teachings, and like, you know, like I used to scoff at it, which I don't know if Stephen Strange ever stopped doing. That was another thing.
No, he kept scoffing.
Like, it just worked out for him, and that really bugged the shit out of me. It's like, I didn't think that the mystic arts worked that way.
Just real quick.
Yep.
Taylor looked up that information for us.
He did.
Can you either slide over and read it, or please?
Go on.
This special report coming to you from Taylor.
Okay, so mentioned in Doctor Strange was that a 35-year-old Army colonel broke his back wearing experimental armor.
There we go.
While this does sound like Rhodey, Doctor Strange director Scott Derrickson stated it isn't a War Machine Easter egg.
Yeah,
And who the fuck was it?
I'm telling you, it's Doc Hammer's kid that he shoved into that the you know that armor that turned around backwards?
Yeah.
That's what I think it is.
If that would murder somebody.
That would be what year? 2000.
That would tear his guts around and
2010?
everything.
2010. 2009 is when Iron Man came out, right?
2008 was the first Iron Man. So 2010, I think, was Iron Man 2.
Okay, just last thing I got to say as far as everything, my whole bit that I was going on.
Yeah.
The movie goes from you're an arrogant asshole, and it doesn't seem like much time passes for him to become Sorcerer Supreme and all knowledgeable and like capable of all this. Like the passage of time, if there is one, they do not do a good job portraying that.
Well, to me, it's inconsistent to the movie as a whole because I feel like they do a great job of like ramping up. Like, of the time where he's, you learn that he's
leading
an
up to
asshole.
him finding the Ancient One?
Yeah.
The lead up to him, like, even getting a lot of his powers. Where he, like, he walks into the library and he starts asking about all the different books. Like, I think all that stuff, everything up through that point, it was when, as soon as Caecilius shows up and they, like, start to take over the New York Sanctum and then he has to roll in, from that point forward, the timeline is weird.
So, like, I'm in full support of him as a student. I actually really enjoyed the scenes of him being a student.
Yeah.
I enjoyed him being humbled by the experience.
Up to the Battle of New York, it was great. It lessens a lot for me after that point.
Agreed. And I do... One of the things I actually really liked about this is that this... so this is going to get into our just Infinity War in general, is that I felt like... so the reason... You mentioned the battle in New York. So one of the things that I thought worked was the battle in Hong Kong. I thought actually worked really
The one
well.
at the end of the movie?
The one at the end of the movie.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the plays that this movie succeeded is with their Infinity Stone. I felt like their Infinity Stone
Definitely.
was well explained. I understood what the rules of the stone were. I understood what the powers of it were and the risks associated with it. And that's something that the previous Infinity movies have not done as good a job at.
For sure.
That's
I think
the one thing that I think this movie, well, the character in general, he seems to have a really good grasp of the Infinity Stone, where everybody else in the Marvel Universe doesn't seem to really know.
yeah.
So I was watching this with my wife, and she was asking, how can he handle the Infinity Stone? And as far as I know, it's like it's being like the Tesseract. Which I know not regular people, most people can't hold it, but the armor guarding it allowed it to be a little bit
the
more
Eye of
wieldy.
Agamotto.
So,
the
like,
actual
yeah.
containment
It
unit.
can be
So
done well.
everyone's clear on that, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's just like how Samuel L. Jackson was able to pick up the cube with his gloved hands.
Just like
because-
Hugo Weaving did, or
and-
Red Skull.
Red Skull, exactly. And in fact, you remember when one of the things he had to do, which by the way is straight out of the comic and just like made my little nostalgia.
Made his little Pangus all hard.
It did.
Shout to Pez Mom.
But when he did his motion to open the eye of, I'm going to call it Agamemnon again. When he did his
fine.
motion to open the eye,
the Eye of Gary Shandling.
that was sort of like a big deal. But normally the eye was closed, and you didn't ever have that. It wasn't a risk as much. But once you opened it, then you had the risk of really fucking some shit up.
That being said, I do have to question if Wong knows that that's an Infinity Stone.
Why the fuck did he leave it sitting there in a library?
Okay, and then the Ancient One surely knows that that's an Infinity Stone.
Yeah.
Why the fuck is it just posted up in the library like it's a bust of, I don't know?
I got another question. Why is it that, I just lost track of what I was thinking, but never mind, go on.
All right,
If you remember, let us know.
If we're blowing holes in
But-
the movie, here's mine. Why did Mr. My Eyes Are All Burned Out have to come into the
Christ.
library
We-
at all? If he just had a sling ring, he could have just reached in, grabbed the book he wanted, closed the wound.
Does the sling ring work in the library?
Oh, we saw that it fucking did,
we
man.
saw Strange stealing books.
Remember?
and-
Okay,
Oh,
check it
yeah,
out. Yeah,
yeah.
when Wong was listening to Beyonce.
Exactly.
He's stealing books.
Exactly, you should have put a ring on. He's getting stole from, right?
Yeah.
So-
Which
so-
definitely was a nod to the Sling Ring. That song.
If you got it, then you put a should have.
So Beyonce was a big Doctor
Oh,
Strange
I
fan.
totally
Wrote it for
did
that movie.
did not catch that.
I just remembered. So they were talking about artifacts, following the person.
The relics,
is it
you mean?
Possible? Yes. Is it possible that the Eye of Agamotto went to Strange, or it just went like? Did it have that same?
No, I
characteristic?
don't. No, I can't imagine so because look, it's an Infinity Stone. Like, they're just basically there for anyone who dares try to fuck with them.
And I would say that they probably have their own, like, it's like the Ring of Power. And I'm sure that they have an opinion on the topic. And, like, the Mind Stone, I'm sure if it has people it would rather be with than other people. And
It has his feet kicked backwards up in the
I
head.
like being in your head, Vision.
Doodling, hearts around men's faces. I wish I could be with them.
I'm just saying that that they move in a way that's beyond our knowing, and so clearly
until April 27th.
But clearly, Doctor Strange was unusual in being able to easily control it, and I would say that says a lot about him and his relationship to the stone.
It does. That goes back to my whole fucking problem as far as like that scene that should have changed his entire character to humble him and no longer be the dickhead we didn't get.
I'm gonna go ahead and say this. I liked this movie a lot more before this conversation.
You know what's it's really I'll tell you this. It's really
this
weird.
Conversation is terrible.
I was just about to say I like this movie because it's a one shot for the most part, but I don't know why all I can think of are bad things about it.
I'm like, I started to think about like listening to y'all, and I'm like, so I did like this movie though. What did I like about it? And I started thinking about the things I like about it, and I'm like, maybe I don't like this movie. And then
if that's the case, we got to talk about the visuals. Then the visuals were fucking amazing.
Just real quick, I want to say that talking back to the Eye of Agamemnon. I got not gonna work anymore, right?
Yeah, the eye of you got to do the whole bit. Eye of not gonna work here anymore.
I like the apple bit, where he's taking bites out of the apple or whatever, and then he's putting it back together, and then he's making it rot real bad, and then he's putting it back together.
That only made me think, if he's so obsessed about his hands, why wouldn't he just do it right fucking then to reverse the age of his hands?
Cool. This movie just went down 2 more points. I'm just kidding.
All right, but here's some things that the movie did really well. I enjoyed the sling rings.
Well,
I thought that was a really good, understandable mechanic to allow people to move through universes. Was
it understandable? They were just like, put on the ring and you can... They could have just had them not wearing the rings and then just spin their arms, and like I'd have been like, okay, I buy that too.
But at the same time, it made things like when they were trying to run away but unable to leap through, like there were some specific rules. You have to make a hole and then you have to jump through the hole. And like when they were unable to balance, they weren't able to get through the hole and they weren't able to use the ring. You couldn't just hold onto the ring and go, I wish there's no place like home, and it takes you back to Kansas. You have to do a set of things that the movie taught you how to do in order to use. And so that makes the magic more interesting than just being like fucking magic. I just snap my fingers and I'm in a new place.
Well, that's what he's basically gonna do later.
Yes, I mean, he gets there.
Yeah,
he gets there.
It's just that.
I really enjoyed the visual representation of spellcasting. I really enjoyed the explanation of how spellcasting worked and how it was just a program to rewrite the nature of reality. That was a very satisfying thing to me. I really, really enjoyed the students and the environment that they created for them to learn in. That seemed interesting and believable. I loved him searching for the secret place and the secret cult to learn from. That was really all those things really worked for me. I loved the buildings. I loved some of the special effects, the ways in which the relics
I was saying
works.
The visuals are like where this movie kind of shines out quite a bit. I agree.
I completely agree with Idify.
The psychedelic bit.
Oh my god! So that part is actually one of my favorite parts of this movie.
Well, let's hear it, baby.
I found that, in fact, I wish the movie had been more of that. It was like there was these 2 5-minute pieces in it where he sort of explored the realms of perception, and then after that he was like, okay, well, that was fucking weird. I'm not doing that shit again.
Then he goes, teach me. And they put him outside. Like, no.
Get out.
We're talking about things that worked real quick. Humor worked for me in this movie.
Yeah.
Most of it. The humor's good, but...
Give me a couple of examples. Throw them at me.
All right.
'Cause I'm trying to remember.
The Wong stuff, him always making fun about, like, shit-talking Wong to his face and him just being stoic. That was good.
Where he's like Beyonce or Madonna.
That seemed a little, like, obvious. I get where he's listening to
like
Beyonce,
Madonna.
but, like, it was all right, though.
But it was every conversation he had
like
with Wong.
Cher.
Yeah. When he was like, teach me. And then she's like, no. And they toss his ass outside. Like, that was funny.
Or like little bits where he said, I'm sorry, Wong, I used the eye and I've reversed time, and Wong was like, well, don't stop now. You know, his character was just humorous, and the way that he interacted with things worked for me.
There was more, but I can't remember it either. Like, I remember being like, oh, this movie's got some good quips, got some good one-liners. What up, Tasty? Just speak loudly, you're good.
Just to speak on the time transition piece, I'm watching the film right now, and there is definite season changes, colors in the trees. So,
But it could be 1 year, or it could be 5.
yeah,
Who knows?
I mean, I'm just saying you may not have been paying attention enough, but it was definitely there and establishing.
Oh,
the
no,
time.
I saw that it had been at least a year, but like...
Well, his hair
for
was
him-
long before he got there, right?
A little
Yeah, it
bit.
just doesn't
It
let you
seemed
know
to get
how
more
long.
and more scraggly. Yeah.
And then
I would like to think that he studied for many years, like
That's
6,
what I would like to
7
think, too.
years at the minimum.
But I don't think they gave us
But-
that.
That's what I mean. Like, I know that he didn't do it over a weekend or some goofy shit, but yeah.
I like the idea that this was just
I
like
mean, I don't know about you guys, but personally, I loved Benedict Cumberbatch's acting. I know you guys had issue with Stephen Strange just being a dick, but he just
I don't have
pulled
an
that
issue with it.
shit
He,
off so
no,
well.
he did a great job.
Yeah,
I
no,
just think
exactly.
Stephen Strange is his dick. I don't think it's bad that he's a dick.
He
No,
didn't
does a
redeem
great job being a
himself.
dick.
I think we can. I think most of us can agree that Benedict Cumberbatch killed it in this movie.
Yeah.
He's really good.
Yeah.
No, he's a wonderful actor. I'm a big
That being said,
Strange fan.
I think we can all agree that Mads Mikkelsen's character is the most uninspired, especially
Underutilized.
like design-wise, like
All right,
costume-wise.
is he the bad guy?
Yes.
Yeah.
All right, so here's
Caecilius.
what I noticed this time. I actually liked him better this time than I've liked in any other time that I've seen him. I thought that his some of his
Well, how many other times have
pieces-
you seen him? We talking about the actor Mads Mikkelsen, or
I mean,
The last time
I've
you
seen
watched
this
Doctor
movie
Strange.
twice.
Oh,
before
okay, I
this.
see.
And the first 2 times, I just hated him flat out. And this time, I noticed some things about him that made him more interesting. And one of the things I noticed is that he quotes Doctor Strange from before when he was a doctor on 4 or 5 different occasions in these sort of spooky ways. So he'll be saying. He'll make this comment about, but you've killed so many people with this plan, and he says, "Oh, they were just insignificant mites on the in the extent of the wide universe," which is an exact quote of what Stephen Strange had said to his girlfriend when he was being an asshole to her. So. When he
I
was
did not
telling
notice that. I
when he
need
was
to-
telling his girlfriend,
Doctor
"I'm not going to
Strange,
heal this guy because he's just an insignificant mite on the." It was literally word for word the exact same quote. So in that way,
he did do that a couple times, didn't he? It's like,
he did.
Were you watching? Are you reading his mind?
So well, that actually hadn't occurred to me. But my point is that they started to make him. Here's what I wanted. I wanted him. I wanted Stephen Strange and him to be on the same path, and then for Stephen Strange to make a choice that caused him to be redeemed, and for the bad guy to make a choice that caused him to be damned. And we didn't get that. It just sort of turned out at the end that he was going to get sucked up and sent away. And so there wasn't a lot
He's
of...
gonna get sucked off and sent away, boys.
Basically.
What we all dream of.
But my point is that there was a lot of possibility for this bad guy that just didn't get explored.
And just a quick chime in, Peb. I'm pretty sure if you've seen the animated Doctor Strange film, that's why. Is because you get that with Mordo and Stephen Strange in regards to
Exactly.
how that path
actually.
works.
So Mordo is another example that I felt like there's a lot of options, a lot of potential
Now,
that didn't get explored.
you thought Stephen Strange had a quick character arc. Man, did Mordo have the quickest fucking from
Wait.
Buddha to Osama bin Laden in
Wait.
0.2 seconds?
Wait.
No, he was a good guy until the post-credit scene.
Yeah, it was like, wait, you had a relationship with Dormammu or whatever his name is? Well, fuck, I'm going total evil then.
Now everyone must die.
I want to go back to, we were talking about, do you remember any funny lines? A part that I remember laughing at was when Caecilius and Doctor Strange are having a conversation, and he can't figure out his name.
Oh yeah, Mr. Doctor, and he
Mr.
says
Doctor.
it's strange. He says, "Well, yeah, it's a little
Yeah,
strange."
kinda. I thought that was good.
That was funny, but
they did
it,
hint at the Mordor transition though.
right, but it just happened like so quick from like everything I know is a lie. So now I must be full chaotic evil. Ah!
Let's go, God.
But that part, that like line, reminded me of when I was watching Wonder Woman, where it's like, this person happens to be completely naive to the way the world works when it's convenient. They're like, when he first came to us, Mads Mikkelsen came to us with his non-fucked up eyes, but he lost his family. Normal ass guy. I assume he worked for a living, understands the concept of doctors and hospitals, but then he came to us, and then, I don't know, he basically was like Stephen Strange, but fucked off badly, right? But then he's like, Doctor, I understand the word strange, but not doctor. What's one of those? That kind of annoyed me a little bit about it.
I didn't get that from it that he didn't know what a doctor was.
I thought that he just didn't understand it in this context.
Yeah.
He was
I thought what annoyed me was Mordor's not
Mordor.
understanding, like Modor, whatever his name is.
MODOK. Yeah, that guy.
Them being so open-minded, but yet he doesn't seem to understand why the Ancient One might use the dark power. It's
All
like,
right.
what?
So here's where the movie really fell
Well,
apart.
no
for
one
me.
likes hypocrisy. That's, I think, a big part of it.
Watching it this time, I realized that this would have been a much better Doctor Who episode than it was a Doctor Strange movie.
Are we talking about Doctor Who
you
again? Boy, I just lit up.
You actually could take some of the same jokes and they'd make sense too. Doctor, what do you mean? No.
That joke is definitely
Mr.
made in
Doctor?
Who
Yeah,
many
yeah.
times.
But I think there was actually a real legit question to ask about if it's better to be mortal or if it's better to be immortal. And this plane that they were aspiring to was essentially an eternal state of existence. And that's in direct defiance of the natural order, right? The problem with zombies is that they don't die, which is the natural order. And essentially this dimension was a zombie world, right? It was a world where nobody died. And throughout it, Mr. My Eyes Are Gonna Blow Up, Mad Mickelson, whatever his name was.
Basilius.
Mad Eye Mickelson. How do we
Mad
call
Eye
him that?
Mickelson. His argument was basically for the fact that the world was crumbling and that everything was decaying, right? He'd lost his family and he wanted to create a world where no loss would occur. And Doctor Strange's argument was that that life and death are a natural part of existence. And these are wonderful arguments.
Where was Tilda Swinton argument? Where was hers?
Well, Tilda Swinton's argument was basically, I'm going to use the guy who's trying to live forever to try and help the people who are mortal. But my point is that movie didn't happen. We didn't get that conflict, which would have been interesting and dynamic. What we got was sort of a weird martial arts movie where people just kind of duked it out using jumping and magical spells, and I just didn't think that effectively communicated the conflict to this movie.
How about him bringing up the Hippocratic Oath like that means a fuck to him? I treat people like dog shit for years, but I do no harm as a doctor, okay? You had me kill a man in self-defense. I was like, shut the fuck up, dude.
Also, I would like to point out he didn't kill the guy entirely on his own. He had the cape help him and his
Cape's got a mind of its own, man.
It
You know what I'm
does.
saying? And then he tried to say, wait.
And then his girlfriend shocked the guy. So like that was a group effort.
It was
not
self-defense.
And
I'm
it was
pretty
self-defense.
sure they don't ask doctors, oh, if you're getting mated, make sure you just let the guy fucking kill you. It's part of the Hippocratic Oath. Did you know that?
So, just in regards to what you were saying, Peb, Dormammu is not native to the Dark Dimension. He traveled there and usurped power and basically became the deity of that place.
Right.
So it's not like that realm exists outside of the normal, like, universe of anything Marvel, any of the separate realities.
So he's not
anything.
native to there?
No, not at all.
Hashtag
No,
not
and in
not
fact-
my native.
And he didn't even
ruler
have a
of this
corporeal
universe.
form when he
in
was
the
there.
original story, the Dark Realm wasn't even a problem because it was him that showed up at it that made it start eating all of these other worlds because he got off to it. So this was an unnatural situation.
Anybody knows the parallel between this and Thor: The Dark World,
It's
where
very
they're
true.
just trying to bring the Dark World back? You know, they just want everywhere to be the Dark World.
Man, remember back when shit was so simple? Now you gotta go mucking it up with mirror dimensions and
Dark World.
Tilda Swintons and shit. I don't know about all this, boys. I think we should go back to Thor.
What happened
Oh,
to Captain
boy.
America fighting the Nazis?
Yeah, whatever happened to them Nazi fellas? Oh wait.
So did you guys like all the martial arts?
I mean, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
the only
I
thing
thought it
I
was
could
cool.
kind of think of was like, if you can shoot
Naruto?
fireballs, why are you gonna fist fight?
Yeah.
Because
You know
fist
what I mean?
fighting's cool, yo.
So in the comic book, there's like 0 martial arts, just so you know.
Yeah, you have it's the mystic arts.
Yeah, you have big, long discussions about the nature of reality, and then at the end, you look at each other real seriously, and then you make a bunch of different hand gestures, and the comic's over. So there was not a lot of physical altercations.
There's a lot that's good about this movie. Doctor
We
Strange
just
himself
already
was good. I know. I feel bad because this movie does have a lot of good redeeming elements. Like when he gets the white in his hair, like that looks smooth as hell when he cuts the goatee.
When he gets his cape, and his cape has a personality, and he's like trying to stop him from getting that axe.
Yeah.
And even
when he puts Mad Eye Mickelson in that weird bondage gear,
that was
and
great.
he's like, "I'll come
was
back.
cool.
I'll come back for you later.
There was some Saw shit.
I'm gonna bust them cheeks."
And there was really good physical. I'm sorry, Adify?
One of the things that I did like, I mean, minus, besides all the visuals, it had a very Twilight Zone feel. Like, just, with him being an asshole and he just loses his hands in that alone is
Oh, I
like a
feel ya.
Twilight Zone
Okay.
episode.
I feel like if you ended the movie there, that'd have been a good Twilight Zone episode.
Yeah. He loses his hands, and then he can't be a surgeon again, and that's the end of the
Because like I imagine if they came to him like, all right, you're still gonna be able to wipe your ass and shit, but you won't be able to do surgery, but you're gonna be Sorcerer Supreme. He'd be like, oh hell yeah,
Yeah.
no, let's do that.
All right.
I bet you he has a bidet.
So one of the
Oh,
things
he better,
that
man.
one of the things bidet. That's
Hashtag
the name I
me,
was
me,
looking
me and
for.
Idify are part of that bidet master race. What do you guys know about that?
There you go. But one of the things that worked for me was some of the physical humor. So like when he was going for the axes and the cape wanted him to go for the thing that would actually hold the guy down, that worked really
It reminded
well
me
for
of watching Aladdin and how the magic carpet.
Another bit was where
That
he
is a
came back.
Perfect example.
Yeah. When he came back into the world and he grabs
Dormammu
his...
looked like the genie at the end.
He did look a little like the
fucked
genie.
up ass one.
But he grabs the cloak and he throws it over his shoulder and he like became Doctor Strange. That moment really worked
That's
for me
when
very
shit
well.
got strange. You know what I'm saying?
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
But one of the things I do want to call about, so you guys are complaining or you're commenting that we've been kind of
We're
shitting on this
critiquing,
movie.
sir.
But one of the things that I love about this movie that it does better than any other Marvel movie is the third act. The culmination, the fight between him and Dormammu was perfect.
That was
Yes.
really clever. I gotta
Yes.
give it to
Yes.
him on that
Yes.
one.
It was intelligent. It was visually fascinating. It was you didn't know what was going to happen. It was brilliantly done.
I remember when the movie came out, there was an interview with the director, or Feige, or someone, where they said that like every one of these movies has been ending with us destroying a city. So we
Exactly.
wanted this one to end with them rebuilding a city. I thought that was cool.
And like little things like when Wong comes popping out of a pile of rubble
With that rebar sticking out of his
with that
chest.
rebar, I was like, yeah, it's Wong.
Go Wong!
So-
Yes. You know what they say about two Wongs, right?
So what'd you guys think of Rachel McAdams' character?
No, wait, was she his girlfriend /
Now-
not his girlfriend?
Yes.
I would like
Christine
to say
Palmer.
him when he had the thing with Dormammu, right? We were just talking about when he's floating in. Dormammu, I've come to bargain, right? I wish we'd have known how much time went by. Because here's the thing:
If this was an episode of Doctor Who, we'd know.
like Groundhog's Day, like
was gonna say it was
the
a
writer
Groundhog's
for
Day
Groundhog's
motion
Day
moment.
is like he was there for 10,000 years.
Yeah.
And it's like, holy fuck. And afterwards, you understand the severity of that man's problem. And it's like, I wish maybe it wouldn't have made the movie any better, but just part of me, it's like, I wish it would have been like, yeah, he was there for eons.
All right, so
It just occurred to me the motif of this movie has been a loss in time. Just from us not knowing the timeline to
Dude, maybe
his
it's all a
watch
meta
being
statement about.
broken,
yeah, you're right.
the time
Yeah,
crack-
go home.
I'd have thought
Go
you
home
would
and give your loved ones hugs and kisses.
I'd have thought you
We're all
cracked the
running out of
code.
time.
It's all about how time is like listen, man, time's just like a created by man. Time is relative, man.
It's all
By the way, they did
construct,
name drop
man.
my favorite person in all of fiction, the space-time continuum. Gotta call it the space-time continuum, man. He's my favorite.
Wasn't this episode brought to us by the Space Time Continuum?
Yeah, and Peb's
It
mom
can
too.
So
She's part of the space. We're all part of it.
So you ask about the scene with his ex-girlfriend. You ask about her character. And you asked also about what were funny scenes. I thought it was hilarious when he says to her, I've got to go into this broom closet where I've left a hole in the dimensions. And she says, okay, look, if you don't want to answer the question, just don't answer the question. And he opens the door and there's a fucking hole to another dimension. So I found that incredibly satisfying. I thought she was an interesting character from that standpoint, but her main purpose in the movie was to be shit on at the beginning of the movie. And so, like, I have all the sympathy for her, but she didn't get a chance to do anything with it other than to leave him.
Yeah.
And
I love
never
Rachel McAdams.
should never come back.
I also love Rachel McAdams.
Yeah, ever since Mean Girls.
The Notebook dog.
I just want to take this moment to say that the Rachel McAdams top tier. She's great. The one who played the new Tomb Raider, shit tier.
Alicia Vikander.
Yeah. Yep, she looks awful in the new
Dude,
Tomb
she's so
Raider.
good in The
I don't
Man
like
from
her.
UNCLE.
Anyways, I just wanted to point that out because I know that everyone here's seen it. Almost everyone here.
Chasey, you seen Tomb Raider?
Don't go see it.
He's saying no.
It's not a waste of a couple hours.
I'm sure I can
not.
recommend a movie that's better worth your time.
Like
I had a good time.
I'm sure I could recommend a movie that's better worth your time.
Anybody have anything else they want to talk about before we review it? Like, give a
Yeah,
score?
I thought Rachel McAdams, like when she was talking about, like, sounds like you've joined a cult, and he's like, look, I know what it sounds like. I'm like, yeah, that's exactly what like somebody in a cult would say.
Yeah.
Like, I guess we're slowly finding more of those funny moments I talked
No,
about.
that is a funny moment.
But yeah,
Yeah, I had some real problems with this movie because I had such a high expectation for it. And
I didn't
think-
realize. Oh, sorry.
And I think that the thing is that mysticism and magical experiences are so individualized, and everybody has their own idea of what magic is and how that works based on their own like culture and their own experiences with their lives. And so it's a really challenging thing to try and make a Harry Potter movie or
You mean create like a new form that's like a
exactly,
fictional form?
a
Okay, I
fictional
see.
form. And I don't think that they did as good a job at this as I would have liked, but I also think that it was an incredibly challenging ask. And so I cut them a lot of slack for not pulling that off.
I'll say this: of any like MCU film or character that we've had so far, the Doctor Strange trilogy is the one that I'm the most interested.
Is it really going to be a trilogy?
Every character is supposed to get a trilogy.
This like probably Doctor Strange's movie is the one that I'm most excited about moving forward.
I'm excited, not so much for me.
I had no idea I didn't
but
like this movie as much as I
curious.
do until talking about it here tonight.
Dude,
but
I'm right there with you. But I'm like so curious as to see where they can go next, and where they can go in a movie after that. Because these movies like to raise the stakes, you know.
we
So
could
I'm
go
curious.
anywhere, Tommy.
They could. That's the cool thing is they could literally go anywhere.
Wong, second star to the right,
Like,
and until morning. Is that how it goes, Pev?
I think so.
you know, we
Hell
talk
yeah.
about like Guardians of the Galaxy and all the cosmic stuff and how interesting all that is, and we gotten a lot more of that in like Ragnarok.
If we ever did a Star
I
Trek
am
podcast, that's what we'd
so-
sign off with.
I am so anxious to see Doctor Strange in like a cosmic world.
Yeah, he spent most of his time in this universe, and in the comic books, he spends very little time in our universe. So I'm excited to see a little bit more of the adventures. I also hope we get a crossover with Spider-Man, just because, like, I'm telling you, there was a Spider-Man Doctor Strange crossover because they were both in New York, and so you'd get one like every year, and it'd be a big comic, and I look forward to it. So I'm hoping we get some Holland and Cumberbatch time together.
I want some Holland and cum, baby. Let's do this. Shout out to somebody.
You guys ready to score this movie?
Tasty's making a big motion over there.
He's been emoting like a mug, man.
There's a fundamental piece that you're missing. Christine is a throwaway love interest.
Are we still talking about Rachel McAdams?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, she's a throwaway love interest. What I'm excited for is to see if Clea shows up in the next movie.
I
Cleo?
am 100.
Miss Cleo.
like
My favorite Mystic Arts person.
I am 100% hoping that he ends up with Wong.
I want the deleted scene where he's like looking for ways to fix his hands, and he stumbles upon, "Call me now," and then he calls, and like they end up having a legit chat, and he's like, I'll call you later.
I'm rooting for the what is it, social justice ending where he hooks up with Wong and the two of them get married. It's gonna be beautiful.
Isn't it absurd exactly how famous Miss Cleo is? Now that I think about it,
It's a joke. Tasty does not like my
you don't like
my
your fan
ending.
fiction?
He doesn't
emoting.
like my fan fiction at all.
I'm in a good position to
He's
not be able to
disgusted.
see a lot of his emoting because I'm just the way we're
Dude.
positioned.
Have you ever seen Family Guy's interpretation of William Shatner's acting, where he's like doing flips in his chair? That's
a lot
basically
like
what Tasty's been
Tasty
doing
looks
this
like
whole
right
time
now.
since
It's
he took
awesome.
out his headphones.
All right, let's give this movie a score,
All right, I'll start.
please.
Because I usually go last. I'm giving this a 7.9. And the reason I do is because this movie is almost a great average Marvel movie. But it's not quite there, and I really wanted more out of it. And I understand and acknowledge the fact that my score is unfair, but damn it, I wanted a better movie, and I didn't get it.
See, I'll go next because I don't think your score is unfair. I'm giving it a 7.5. Which is 75%. I think that's pretty good. I go see horror movies rated way worse than that on Rotten Tomatoes. I thought it was pretty good, but now that I've really gotten, now that I'm being forced to sit and think about it some more, it's got a lot of fucking problems. But there's a lot good there. So 75, 7.5. Let's do that. Lock it in.
I was in the 8s before.
Oh man, we ruined this movie for you.
It's okay. It happens. I've seen this happen on this show before.
What you saved
But
Civil War for me, so
Yay!
there you go.
You can always change your score later too.
That's true.
You know.
Fuck. I'm like the internal struggle I'm having right now is legitimate. Let's go with a 7.
All right, 7.0.
Yeah.
Oh man. All right.
What do you think, Idify?
Honestly,
Oh,
I
well,
mean,
we all
for
know what
the
he's gonna give it.
negatives- For the negatives that the movie did have, I absolutely adored this movie. Just the visuals, the humor, and I mean, I can't stress enough that Hong Kong reverse fight, fucking fantastic. I gave it a 9.
9.0. Oh,
Biggest problem is like your villain is just Mads Mikkelsen with eyeliner. Fuck you, man.
Yeah.
Shut up.
I agree.
Get out of here.
So, Tasty, what did you think?
It's an 8.2. The reason being is that while it has flaws in its origin story, the setup and development for the rest of the MCU in its phases is going to be leaps and bounds better for this movie because of it.
Well, true. I do think it was a bit on the nose, though. Instead of Wong being like, there's power contained in there that you have yet to even realize. It's like, yo, bro, that's an Infinity Stone. You don't know about those yet, do you?
Like, I think that's
Sick
probably the
kickback,
most-
baby.
Let me
That's
tell you
the
about
thing
this
I'm
guy
most
named
excited
Thanos.
About is his interaction in Infinity War. Doctor Strange in the Marvel Universe is a super powerful fucking being. So I'm excited to see him in Infinity War.
I'm hoping. All right, so this is just Paul.
Well, no, you already saw the scene mostly.
So this
oh,
is
wait,
just-
never mind. I misheard you.
This
Sorry.
is just Paul totally like whacking off
Fucking
and talking about the movie he
dick.
hopes to see. I want to see some Doctor Strange going on
Getting some
Scarlet.
strange.
Going on some Scarlet Witch action. I want to see her modifying reality and Doctor Strange going, "Hey, cut that shit out," and fixing reality.
He's gonna roll up that cape and throw it inside her.
And throw it inside her.
Yep. All right. He's gonna be pulling the Eiffel Tower with his little cape buddy, like the carpet did.
Huge shout out to our sponsors this week. Appreciate you guys funding this show. Adidas, Apple Computers, Coca-Cola, Philips, Microsoft, and Lamborghini were our sponsors this week. It was great. When I reached out to Lamborghini, they said, yes, we'll pay for it, and each of you guys involved in the show get a Lamborghini of your choice in the color of your choice. I turned them down, though, because
We won't bow to any corporate sponsors.
exactly.
Right.
I didn't. I
It's like,
while I
only, it's like
appreciated
people
them
only do
paying
things
for
because they get
the
paid.
show.
Tasty says he'll take ours.
It's too late, Tasty. After I told him that, they say go fuck yourself, and you can never sponsor.
So let me
we'll
ask you
never
one
sponsor of
quick
your shows
question.
again.
If I was Lamborghini, there's no way in hell I would allow you to drive my car into a wreck like that.
Oh, sure.
Lamborghini, that's the car that destroys Stephen
It'll fuck
Strange's
you- it'll
hands.
fuck your
It'll
hands
fuck
up.
your hands up.
I tell you what, the car,
But you'll
considering all the turmoil it went through, it looked pretty good by the time it was in that water.
It did look
It
pretty
still
good.
looked pretty good.
If only he'd been driving a Volvo.
On the other side, we created the Sorcerer Supreme by a Lamborghini.
I'd just like to... never mind.
It's time for Secrets of the Marvel
Universe.
Universe.
Thank you.
I was going to wait till you were halfway through your spiel and say it. I didn't know you were waiting on me.
Anybody who was listening to this like on their phone in the car or something, they just like pulled out their phone to check to see if it was still
God damn
playing.
it.
Fuck these guys. Number 1, Christine Palmer is an amalgamation of 2 different Marvel characters. In the comics, Christine had her own run where she was the night nurse.
Was she really the night nurse?
Christine
I was
Palmer is
wondering.
the
Who's
night
the night nurse, Peb?
Well, it was.
Is this
her...
like a man thing sort of thing?
No,
It's the one arc that only you read?
No. Did you see the Daredevil? So she, the woman.
Oh,
that,
no shit.
Yeah, that's so. It
So
was
she
her...
played Rosario Dawson's character in the Netflix series.
Well, no, Rosario Dawson was another of the night nurses. It was her and Rosario Dawson and one other.
That's why
black
this is a
lady.
weird amalgamation, because
Amanda
the
Waller.
character name of Christine Palmer is the night nurse.
Right.
Okay, but Rachel McAdams' character is not a
That
nurse.
character.
She's not credited
And
as the
Rosario
night nurse.
Dawson's character, who I think is Claire.
I think something like that.
I think her name is Claire. Taylor's giving me a nod. I nailed it, guys. High fives all around.
Taylor looks like a teacher.
She plays the
Who's
role
watching
of
a
the night
student get it
nurse.
right.
in
Exactly.
MCU.
And that series had multiple women in similar roles. So it was
Yeah.
sort of it was a soap opera.
So there's a bunch of ladies who live to fucking fix up Daredevil and just
and other superheroes. Yeah.
Doctor Strange's love interest in the comics.
It was really
Is more on in lines of personality and what this character does professionally, was a character named Linda Carter. Not Wonder Woman Linda Carter, but there's a character in the comics named Linda Carter who is more like what Rachel McAdams' character was.
See, I think you guys want night shift nurses, which is don't Google that. Taylor knows what I'm talking about.
I just want to
no.
call out how hot Linda Carter is.
No, it's
Still.
She's gorgeous.
it's not your average porno. It's a scat hentai. Don't look it up.
Oh,
Yeah,
I mean, we gotta have DKP going off the rails at some point talking about.
Well, when you
something.
said night nurses, that's what I kept thinking of. I was
Of course, of course, you
I know
would.
what that shit is.
Number 2, the Avengers Tower. What
Taylor knows
up? Number 3.
Wait, but
so
it
Secrets
wasn't-
of the Marvel Universe, you just go Avengers Tower? What up?
Yeah, I did.
So that
Okay.
actually bugged me because it was in some shots but not others.
Yeah, I
That
was talking
really
about that
annoying.
earlier. And Tommy was like, I don't think that's a continuity thing. I think it's just a they fucked up thing.
Yeah, I think so too.
Number 3, Nicodemus West actually saves Strange's hands in the comics, and he eventually goes to Kamar Taj as well.
Nicodemus?
Yeah,
Nicodemus West,
guy
the
he
blonde-headed guy
was
that we were,
making fun of at the beginning. The guy who was going to harvest the organs.
Oh.
the actor that I, as of right now, cannot tell you what his name is.
Nostradamus
even though
and
I just read it.
Nicotine? What the fuck kind of name is that?
Yeah.
From Boardwalk Empire, just like if I just said.
Number 4 is a 35-year-old Air Force colonel who crushed his spine, which we now have confirmation. We have no idea who that is. Peb's theory is that it's
It was
Justin
a good
Hammer's
theory, though,
dog.
Peb.
That's
All right,
my
buddy.
theory.
It was great.
Number 5. The song that is playing when Doctor Strange crashes his car is Pink Floyd's Interstellar Overdrive.
Mm-hmm.
Pink Floyd and Marvel actually have a history where they included Doctor Strange artwork for their album, A Saucer Full of Secrets. And Doctor Strange art is like the album cover. Number 6. The guy that Strange mistakenly believes is the Ancient One is later called out to be Master Hamir. So he sees a guy who's like, hello, Ancient One, and he's somebody else.
Man, not that Master
And he was
Hamir.
the same guy who had no hand.
In the comic books,
Oh, really?
Master Hamir is actually, he's like the right-hand man of the Ancient One.
Oh, no, he's not.
Ironically.
You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
He is also the father of Wong.
Oh, wait, he does have a right hand. Fuck.
The father of Wong.
He's Wong's dad. But Wong in the comic seems like he's younger. He's like a kid.
Cool.
Sort of anyways.
Well, the guy that played Wong in this killed him, man.
Oh,
Mr.
yeah, yeah.
Well, Wong.
No, I'll take this
Played-
Wong over that.
Yep. Anyways.
Mr. Wong playing Wong.
You know what they say about two
Well-
Wongs?
Hey,
We're not bringing that back. I was just being
I know.
an asshole.
You're not Wong. Get it, fellas. Give me the
number
ribs,
7.
Tommy.
Get out of my. Get you better. Yeah. Number 7. The staff of the Living Tribunal. So the Living Tribunal is an actual cosmic figure. That's the staff that Mordo
Inspired
has.
by the guy from Iron Man 2.
So without delving too deeply into the ever-changing fiction of the Tribunal, he exists as an embodiment of the multiverse itself, maintaining balance on a cosmic scale.
All right, so here's my question. Didn't we see him in Guardians of the Galaxy?
I don't know.
I think he was the
You
guy.
don't think he takes weekends off from being a staff? Of course he does.
No, that's his staff.
Yeah.
He's the Living Tribunal. He's a guy. But he's really big, and he carried the Infinity Stones, and I think that was him destroying that big...
I
The
don't
planet?
think that
That's
is him.
really
I think the
Paul's
Living Tribunal is
speculation.
Yellow.
Oh, is he yellow?
And it was all
He's
yellow.
the yellow guy with the 3
No, it
heads.
wasn't.
Really?
I don't know.
Oh, I may have him confused then.
I fell asleep in this podcast about 30 minutes ago.
Oh.
Number 8. In the
It
comics,
is, yeah,
Doctor
I just
Strange
confirmed.
has... in the comics, Doctor Strange
Oh,
has
yeah,
an
he is the
affinity...
yellow guy. Never mind.
An affinity for axes. Doctor Strange uses axes in the comic books. He attempts to get an axe when he's fighting Caecilius, but his cloak of levitation's like, nah, fam. Leave that axe alone. Number 9, and the final one, the scene where the astral projection of Doctor Strange is giving advice to Christine while she operates on him, is actually from the comics. Where he's like, he comes in. I didn't get to say this during the review, but that scene where the 2 astral projections of him and that
Are
other
fighting.
dude were that was so dumb. That was that was ants putting cubes into something while Michael Douglas is seriously explaining it moment.
You see, but that wasn't supposed to be cool. This Doctor Strange scene was.
their astral
got one for
projections
you.
are fighting, and it looked kind of silly. And they're flying around, and it reminded me of that movie.
I mean,
with Michael J. Fox.
if
that
I
Peter
was
Jackson directed
investigating-
about ghosts.
If I was investigating a haunted house and I walked in and there were 2 ghosts having a fist fight, I would laugh and just leave too.
TKP, what is that movie that Peter Jackson directed about ghosts that has Michael J. Fox in it?
The Frighteners.
Thank you, The Frighteners.
You're
That's
welcome.
what the fight scene reminded
All right,
me
if I
of.
were you saying?
I
got one?
one more little hidden Easter. The
All right,
book
let's hear
of
it.
Perception, the Doors of Perception makes a cameo in this movie.
It does, but we're
Look,
about to get to it.
Right,
Sorry, I
Are
don't
we?
mean to interrupt.
Are we about to get to it?
We are.
we are.
Oh.
I hope we could talk
I-
about this Living Tribunal guy someday. He's got multiple mouths.
What a winner. I do want to say I found probably 40 Easter eggs on this movie, but the Easter egg was either A, way over my head, B, way too much of a deep cut for like Doctor Strange stuff, or C,
So
it was
wait,
like hard
the
for
stair
me.
car in the background, way the fuck off.
Yeah, but that at least
That's
makes,
not.
But
I'm
at least
kidding.
I can like that's something that's
But-
like okay, there's a stair car, and these guys directed Arrested Development. But something like this is like
Okay, fair enough.
it's like going into it tells what each of the different weapons that everybody has is and where they came from and what they're
There
like.
was
There are tons of little Easter eggs
An
involving a lot of
incredible
stuff.
amount of fan
So
service.
for
in this
super
that's
Doctor
not
Strange
worth your
fans,
time
Yeah,
to
so
go
if
over.
anybody's interested, just
I'm sure
do a
they were
little bit of
thrilled, huh?
Googling
Yeah, yeah.
and find out some more stuff.
But-
But a lot of it was way over my
But
head.
Doctor Strange, the comic book was all about making up weird bullshit to reference. So they were always saying, well, you'll have to use the X of Y, and we'll need to do, to go to land Z. And
You'll have to
do...
use the subtle dick of Terrence Howard.
Exactly.
Nothing else can fit
Nothing
through.
else can fit through. So it was very easy for them to throw a million Easter eggs into this, and would be very difficult to track them all down.
And boy, oh boy, they confused the shit out of me. I started writing them, then I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that one. That happened like 15 times. while
I
was
think you
working on
covered the
these.
big ones.
Cool. It's time for a segment we haven't had in a few weeks. It's time to get our rocks off.
I suppose it is that time, boys.
I kind of went into it a little during the review section.
Yep, you absolutely did, which is fine. We usually touch on the Infinity Stones a little bit. I want to do something that we haven't done yet, which is call out all the Infinity Stones and where they are. Because this, as of the end of this movie, we know where 5 out of the 6 are. And we have speculations on the 6th, but Pep has a really good theory.
I got a theory.
So we have the Space Stone,
I got one too.
the Space Stone, which is the blue one that's in the Tesseract.
Yep.
We have the why can't I think of the name of it? The Ether. It's the
It's not the mind. It's not time. It's the Dark World one.
yeah, but I can't remember what it's
Power
called.
Stone.
No,
Nope, not that one either. Well, shit.
It's
We've failed everyone.
Tasty, just yell it out. Reality
Stone. Thank you, Tasty.
Good job, Tasty. So we've got the Mind Stone that's in the Tesseract. I mean, I'm sorry, the Space Stone, which is in the Tesseract. We got the Reality Stone that is ether, that's not actually a stone yet.
You got your reality.
Occasionally inhabits the Foster.
The Mind Stone, which is the yellow stone that's currently in Vision's head. We've got
That's the tragic
Power
one.
Stone, which is currently held by the Nova Core.
Yep.
And then this is number 5. This
Held
is
by
the
John
Time
C.
Stone.
Reilly himself.
The Power Stone is purple, by the way. And we have the Time Stone, which is green. And its containment unit is the Eye of Agamotto.
Oh, and the ether, did you mention that that's with the Collector?
I did not, but that is currently where it is.
Yeah.
I'm super curious as to how they're going to
Me too.
pull that off.
Like
Thanos is just gonna
like
go get
it's
it.
going to be a Thanos.
I know, but
it's-
is he going to get a thing that's
No,
just
it's
got
gonna
the
be a-
blob in it? Is he
it's
going to
gonna be
like
a
crush
fucking-
it into a stone? Is it going to form a stone when he
Oh,
puts it in there?
you're saying how
I'm
does he
curious how it, like-
capture? How does he
It's
make
never been
it?
a stone, as far as the viewers. are
Thanos is
concerned.
gonna take it like dough and knead it into a stone.
He's going to need.
I don't know,
I'm okay
man.
with that.
So we
I just wanna
did we
see it.
did see a vision during Thor's vision where it became a stone. It went from ether to a stone.
Cool.
Tasty's shaking his head no, like he just watched Thor or some shit.
But I do want to say this. I think the Infinity War is going to be a big road show. It's going to be Thanos, and he's going to be going on a tour through space with all his buds, and they're going to be like drinking and hanging out at places.
Like
It's gonna-
like a Motley Crue music video.
Yeah, exactly.
amazing.
On this lonely road, and the way back home to get those Infinity Stones. I'd watch
it
that
writes
shit, man.
itself.
It does.
All right, the current location of the Time Stone is Earth inside the New York Sanctum.
Yep.
The current owner is Doctor Strange. The previous owners were the Cosmic Entities, Agamotto, and then Cagliostro.
I didn't know that he had it.
Yep. Here's the description based on the Wikipedia search. When you go to Google and you type in Infinity Stones MCU Wikipedia, this is the description.
Oh,
you get.
Christ. Here we go.
The Eye of Agamotto is an ancient artifact, a pendant created by Agamotto, the first Sorcerer Supreme, presumably to contain and harness
Sorcerer
the power of the green time stone contained inside. After being stored for an unknown amount of time on a pedestal in Kamar Taj, it was recently wielded by Dr. Stephen Strange, first to aid him in his learning of sorcery, then in his final fight against Caecilius and Dormammu. When wielded by someone having the necessary knowledge and skills, it appeared to be able to control the flow of time, be it on a small or massive scale, notably to turn something to a previous state, to accelerate its time in order to apply changes that have not happened yet, or to lock it in a time loop, resetting its state until the wielder stops its effect. It appeared skilled sorcerers or perhaps users of powers from the dark dimension could to an extent subtract themselves to the effects of the stone, stopping the time reversal affecting oneself or detecting one was stuck in a time loop. It was noted by Wong and Carl Mordo that the use of the eye was contrary to the natural order of things and extremely dangerous. With Wong's approval, it was placed back on its pedestal by Strange until he learned how to properly harness its powers. Strange branded it once again a little while later while meeting Thor and Loki. Let's talk about our friend Stanley.
Indeed. I think Idify should tell us about it because he was making a reference to it earlier.
Idify,
Yes.
tell us about our friend Stanley.
You guys cut out for a second. So he's in a bus.
No, he didn't.
And he is reading. What's that? The Doors of Perception.
Doors of Perception is the
Doors
book
of
he's reading.
Perception. So are you gonna? Why is that important?
You can do a way better job than I could. Go ahead.
No. Okay.
You're the Doctor Strange boy here. Let's
So
hear it,
the
man.
Doors of Perception was a book that was popular in the 60s that was
I didn't know what it was, so I Google it. Man, what a book.
it was the beginning of a lot of different countercultural ideas about how reality works. So if you are talking about anything from the people who did LSD to people who started churches to people who a lot of people took inspiration from this book, and one of the most important people who took inspiration from it was the authors of Doctor Strange, who based Doctor Strange upon this book.
So yeah, Stanley is reading the book on a bus, and he's like laughing, and he's like, "That is hilarious," while he's reading it.
Like it's a comedy.
The book, it's a book that chronicles a single afternoon during a mescaline trip.
Yeah.
Oh, well, no fucking kidding then, huh?
Yeah.
And it really did. It
so
touches
awesome.
a lot of people, from Timothy Leary to everybody makes references to this book. I've tried to read it. It is easier to read Naked Lunch than it is to read The Doors of Perception. It is not an easy book to read, I found.
Is it just the way that it's written? It's nonsensical to some degree? What?
It makes sense. You just get to the
It's
end
a
of it
book
and you're
that
like,
chronicles a single afternoon during a mescaline trip.
Tommy,
What more could you?
That's probably the best comedic timing anyone's had in this podcast.
there you go.
And you saved us a good 30 minutes of just of talking about our friend Stanley.
All right, it's time for everybody's favorite segment, the post credits. Get out your fucking checkbook moment. Get out your fucking checkbook. We had a mid and a post credit scene. Our mid credit scene is a scene of Thor at the Sanctum trying to find his dad. And I hate this fucking scene because it's in Thor Ragnarok.
I was gonna say I liked it in Thor Ragnarok. That was like my
loved it in
that was
Thor
like my
Ragnarok.
favorite scene in
It's
Thor Ragnarok.
awesome in Thor Ragnarok.
I forgot that I saw it in Doctor Strange already. Though.
It was awesome in the Doctor Strange post credit scene until you realize that it's a scene from the movie. Please, Marvel, stop doing that.
You lazy
Please stop
sons of
doing that.
bitches. Taylor, you got your finger up.
I do not like, dude. It was so cool when Doctor Strange refills his giant.
Yeah.
What are those things called?
Stein.
Yeah, he refills the stein with
How
beer.
could you not be an alcoholic if you had that power?
Dude, I'm saying that is such a cool thing, and to see it in Thor Ragnarok and it not have the same impact is kind of annoying.
One of the things I love about that scene, and what annoys me, is that we get to discuss this scene again in Thor Ragnarok, but I'm just going to call it out right now. We saw the difference between Doctor Strange as a novice in this movie and a Doctor Strange who has a more intense control of reality.
Doctor Strange is so awesome in Thor Ragnarok.
He is.
I can't wait to talk about
He
it.
doesn't need a sling ring to transport you from place to place.
Nope.
He's got full control of his
There's
sanctuary.
only one place he's slinging. You know what I'm saying?
Taylor, you want to say something real quick?
Can't talk about future movies.
You don't get to fucking come over here and make rules for our podcast. Leave.
Taylor's just an
Otherwise, I'll sling
Specifically, he
some
said we
ropes
can't
on your
talk about
face with
future
my sling
movies.
ring. How do you like
The
that
show
shit?
is called Preparation Avengers.
You already established that rule.
We did.
And
We
so
did.
y'all are going way out of your box.
Taylor, you keep opening the
But
mouth. I'm gonna sling ring my dick
We
into
wouldn't
it,
be
all right?
talking about
Close
different
it.
movies if this scene was
That's
not
why you
in
wanted
that
the
fucking
tribunal.
movie
Got
too.
those three
Thank
mouths.
you.
Because we're only talking about a
I heard
scene.
where you're
Yes,
going.
sir.
We're only talking about a scene
that's
that's
on the TV.
This scene was definitely in this movie, so I think that makes it fair.
100%.
I don't care if it's fair at all. I'm talking about it. I thought it was all right, but I wouldn't like to see it again. That's
too bad.
There's my fucking hot take on it.
Post-credit scene. We've been touching on it quite a bit throughout the show. DKP, what is the post-credit scene?
Dude, I for a second I almost forgot. It's where Gordo
Mordo.
goes bad, and he's like, "Hey." Out of all the things on his big ass long list to do, he's like, you know that guy that can walk again? I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go.
walk away.
I'm gonna go fuck his shit up, fam. Give me your ability to walk back, you little bitch. And he leaves.
You know
him
they
there.
have
No more
they have-
playing basketball for
They
you.
have wheelchair basketball. Thank
He
you.
goes. I finally realized what's wrong with this world. Not enough cripples, and he fucking wrecks that guy's day. It's fucked up, dude.
It is.
It's the most heartbreaking post-credit scene I've ever seen. And then he's like, "Oh, and there's a lot of sorcerers too. We gotta get rid of them."
So you think at the end of Infinity War, we're gonna get a post-credit scene? It'll just be Doctor Strange going back to that guy, going,
It'll be that guy
I hope-
playing
hey,
wheelchair
"Dude, I'm
basketball.
sorry, man.
I
Here."
hope that's the first scene in the movie. That poor fucking guy. That guy looks so humble by his experience, unlike Stephen Strange. Like, man,
I know, if there
I
are any
decided to come back
heroes-
and play basketball under a bridge in New York and live a good life. I don't beat my wife. I don't do any of that shit. I just walk and play
just
basketball when no one told me I could. And the guy's like, "Hey, look, I made a special trip to Harlem. I got a bad delivery for you." What the fuck, man?
I know. There in Marvel universes, he could go after Banner. He fucked up Harlem.
Now, if you want my real hot take on what I think's gonna happen, we saw the guy has his own little metal working basement workshop, right? What if he's gonna become like a new superhero that has no legs and is like fighting to get his legs back? Or I don't know, the magic to make his spine work back.
You mean Rhodey?
Who knows that he wasn't working on like a Wolverine suit?
He's gonna he's gonna beat up Rhodey.
You don't know that
and
shit.
steal Rhodey's new.
They're gonna
leg walking
combine
suit.
like in Dragon Ball.
Oh yeah, there you go.
They're gonna touch tips, and it's gonna create Terrence Howard all over again. But this time, his biggest weakness gone. Regular, solid ass 5-incher.
Well, there we go.
Not too much girth though, but enough.
Anybody have anything else they're going to add before we end this episode of Preparation Avengers?
How can I add to 5 inches with girth?
Shout out to Pev's mom. That's it. Hopefully the last couple episodes
poor
with
mother.
ants in the pussy and shit weren't too lewd for you.
Dude, I don't even remember. What you
I just
bringing
want to. I
that
just
up.
want to say, in real life, I'm a pretty polite, nice person.
That is not even close to true.
No, not true at all.
Not true at all.
Well, I hope we
What
never
you
meet
hear
there.
is what you get. Idify, anything else you want to add?
I'm looking forward to the future of Doctor Strange.
Same.
So what we got coming?
So yeah, that's it for this week's Preparation Avengers. Join us next week where we will be discussing Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
This time with 100% more Kurt Russell.
Way more Kurt Russell than was in Doctor Strange. That's for sure.
So do we want to do a quick guess on what we're going to score it at?
No.
Okay.
We can if y'all want, but no.
All right,
if you
cool.
want to.
Fuck it, I guess not. I don't know.
Yeah,
Well, do you want to?
I do. But
All right,
that's
then do it.
All right.
Pep, why don't you tell us what that movie's about?
All
What do you
right.
think?
I think Guardians is about Kurt Russell driving a convertible, and it also involves wrecking on a planet and fighting a planet, and there's a bunch of gold people.
All right. If you guys remember one of the first movies ever filmed, it was like Journey to the Moon, I think, right?
That's the first science fiction movie.
First, okay. And you have that fucked up face, looks like it's covered in shaving cream as the moon.
Yeah.
When I first heard, like, oh, did you know that Star-Lord's dad is a planet or some shit? That's what I pictured was going to be Kurt Russell's face just like on a moon somewhere. It's much cooler than that, so look forward to it. And go watch it.
Though? Is it though?
Much cooler than that, yeah. It looks like the Teletubbies' son, baby. Fuck that shit, man. I ain't about it.
I'm scoring it as 7.2. That's what I think it'll be.
I think I'm going to give it an 8.
I think I'm gonna give it a 6.
I think I'm gonna give it an
Tasty
8.
says 7. Idify says 8-2.
Tasty says 6.
I'm from the same boat, baby.
All right, yeah, that'll do it for this week. Don't forget to like the video; it really helps us out. Click that little bell so you get notifications, so you see when the next episode pops. Make sure you give us a subscription as well, because the more people that subscribe and watch, the more people that YouTube will put this in front of. So, make sure you also follow our Twitch account. That's Chainsaw Ape. We play video games as well. Sometimes those are cool. One last time, our panel: Danny,
Yes, sir.
Paul,
That's me.
Alex,
Hey now.
Taylor.
Hey, we got more than just
And-
finger guns this time.
Man, we got first it was 3 fingers, then it was 2 fingers, and then we got a yell. Things are growing great. Don't
We're
forget
like the
Baskin
Jeffersons.
Robbins
We're moving on up.
always finds out.
And